Hi, everybody. We are Cindy Lewis Caballero and Sandy Orlando, your two co-race directors for two events coming up by Endurance Event Productions. And that is the September 8th Georgina Marathon and Half Marathon, which also includes a 5 and 10K, and the September 29th Nutrients Oakville 21.1. So we're excited to work towards getting these done and seeing you guys all at the start and finish line of those after a successful Georgina Spring Fling a couple of weeks ago. We wanted to chat about how everyone is welcome at our events. We sometimes get caught up in winning, meaning that winning is winning your age category or winning the race and getting a prize for winning. And we wanted to just talk about some of the finishers that we see crossing the finish line and what winning might mean to them. So that's the topic of this talk, and how everyone is welcome regardless of what a win means to you. It could mean winning the race. It could mean winning your age category, but it could also mean finishing a 5K, walking a 5K, being able to do a 10K and see your family at the finish line, being able to overcome an injury or an illness. So that's what our topic is today, and we thank you guys for tuning in.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, you've sort of covered off all the categories that we were going to talk about there. I think the reason this is so meaningful for us, and the reason that an awful lot of people come back to our races, is because of the fact that it's a community feeling, but it's also, we're there welcoming people back in. And I talked to a runner this morning who I saw on my walk, who had just gotten her first Boston qualifier. She's done races, all of the majors except for Boston, and she still hasn't gotten her Boston qualifier until Georgina. And when we caught her, when I remember catching her at the finish line, and she was completely, out of herself, needed a bit of a walk in, but she came back later on and thanked us for being there and catching her. And she thanked me again this morning after seeing her. It's a really important achievement for people, regardless of what your goal is and what your win is. But it's really meaningful for us to be able to be there and see that, right? The kinds of things that we're seeing, like coming across that finish line, maybe someone's overcoming an injury or an illness or something like that and coming back. And it's quite emotional for them. And, it's great to see that and see the look on their face when they come across. They've just finished an accomplishment that's really meaningful for them. And each person has a different reason for being there.
Yep. I always think about the people coming in near the end of the race and how far they probably came, why they might have chosen to do one of the further distances, especially, and perhaps, what their life was like before they started training versus what it's like on the day of the race and at the finish line to achieve something. Especially, some people have lost, tons and tons of pounds. Some people have gone through some sort of life-changing event, some sort of changing family situation, for example, and they've needed somewhere to direct their energy and focus. So there's some great stories, and I think that those stories differ greatly from the person who wins the race versus the person that might be coming in near the tail end. And everyone's story is important, and everyone's achievement is huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Watching at the end of the race, particularly the end of the marathon, or even the end of the half marathon, where people have really struggled to finish that distance. And what we try to do is, even if the course is closing and the time is, our time is up, it's important for Cindy and I, for our races, to make sure that last finisher is welcomed in with a really big, over the top kind of welcome, as much as we can, even though some of the banners are coming down or the finishing arch. But it's important for them to be recognized. And we had somebody reach out to us after our last race and thank us for doing that. It can be a little daunting to be running along and having the truck behind you taking down aid stations and things. But she told us that she felt really well supported. She had a whole entourage of people, the people who are on the course marshals, the medical people, bringing her in. And we make a point of going out and making sure that we run the last person in and make sure they get a medal and make sure that they're taken care of all the way. And I think that was really meaningful for her. And she reached out and thanked us for that, because it was such a huge accomplishment for her to do that.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that we wanted to make sure that everyone knows is, it's not all about the marathon. It's not all about the half marathon. for a lot of us, running a 5K is a huge deal. And certainly running a fast 5K is very hard and a huge deal. But for some of us, doing a 5K, walking a 5K is a big deal. And you are totally welcome to come to our events, and you will get the same sort of support, the same sort of cheering that anybody else does. If you're taking part in your first 5K or whatever, like everybody is welcome at the 5 and 10, and you have 6 hours to complete it. 6 hours from the start of the marathon. So nobody should feel like, oh, am I going to make it in time? Oh, should I take part? Am I going to be able to do it? You can walk it, you can run it, you can, you can't crawl it or rollerblade it or bike it. You can walk it or run it, and we'll welcome you just the same.
Hopefully you're not crawling it. You're looking out and taking care of people who are doing that, but for sure. And, also age groups too. That's something that we see an awful lot of. We've seen some, I think, 8 or 9-year-olds coming out to our last race and running in the 5K. And then what's our oldest age group? Probably
70 plus is the
70 plus. Group, yeah. And we're seeing an awful lot of really fit people coming out and doing that and still running big distances. Well, even a 5K is a big distance, right? If you're not a runner. So, but we've got an awful lot of people who are coming out and still doing it. And it's exceptional to watch. Anybody who stays around and cheers people in, I think it's just as meaningful and just as gratifying for the spectators at a race to see the people coming in. The first one is very exciting, the winner is exciting, and then you start to see the people with the different stories carrying those stories with them, and it's really meaningful to watch that.
And on that note, if you are running the race and it'd be great if you did stick around to cheer on those last people. I always think about when I was doing Ironman and the people coming in near the end, I would always go back just before midnight to help these people get into the finish line, because they were out there all day and they had a big, huge day. And I used to think back then too, like, these people have a story, right? A big story, much different than my story. And they should have support and people cheering them on as well to help them get to that finish line. So it'd be great if some of you guys, when you were done your race, stuck around or came back towards the end to cheer all the finishers near the tail end on as well.
You have to think about the people who are out there so much longer than you and help them out as well. And that's part of sticking around and cheering and welcoming them in. Yep. That's
so we always like to hear people's stories and know people's stories. And if you have a story that you'd like to share with us, that you'd like us even to perhaps profile or mention if you're in the race and as you come across the finish line or at the starting line, feel free to send that in to us. You can send that to us at either georginamarathon@gmail.com or oakville21.1@gmail.com, depending on which race you're taking part in. We'd love to hear it. We just like to know, people's history, people's background, where they came from, what their running story is. And we know that stories like that are really motivating to other people, whether those people are in the race or whether they're thinking about taking part in a race one day, whether they're a runner's partner or, kids. You never know what might motivate someone to get their running shoes on and get out that door. So send those along. Don't be shy.
Yeah, let us know in advance so we can welcome you in at the finish line, even, with putting a face to a name. We love doing that.
Great. Anything else you want to add, Sandy?
I think we covered it all. I mean, I think Great. We just I would have to just say thank you to everybody who comes out and supports us and does share feedback with us. We did a survey and got lots of great feedback, suggestions, wishes, and congratulations. And that's really important. We do read this, we do pay attention, and we want to make sure that our races are very special for everybody who comes out and does them and volunteers for them.
Yes. All right. So we are excited to see you guys all in September, whether you're coming up to Georgina or you're coming out to Oakville or perhaps both. Anything that comes up along the way that you want to tell us about, send us an email. Again, we are at enduranceeventproductions.com, and you can contact us at georginamarathon@gmail.com or oakville21.1@gmail.com. Have a great weekend. Happy training.